Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Today we're making a bunch of different kinds of flavored herb salts. It's a great way to preserve a lot of different things from your garden, especially herbs. This is my recipe for Mojo citrus inspired herb salts. My family is from the Dominican Republic and we use Mojo type of flavors all the time in our cooking. Herb salts is a great way to use up a lot of different ingredients from the garden, especially herbs. They also make for great gift items as well. Today I'm already making a basil salt and a garlic herb salt, which I made a separate video showing how to make those. I will link that below in the description if you want to learn those two flavors as well. But anyways, let's get into making this Mojo citrus herb salt. First up, you're going to need a food dehydrator. I'm blending fresh herbs that still have a lot of water content, and that needs to be removed so that these salts will store away for a longer period of time. I'm using London Sunshine brand 6-tray food dehydrator. This thing works perfectly, and I like how it's compact. It fits really nicely in my kitchen instead of a huge bulky food dehydrator. You can get 20% off this same food dehydrator by using my code and link below in the description. You might be wondering, can I dry all my herbs and then blend that with the salt? It won't come out the same. First off, the herbs aren't really going to break down and blend up well with the salt unless they're fresh. If they're fresh, it breaks down, blends very evenly, and it turns the salt all a nice, beautiful color. If you're using dried herbs and mix it with the salt and then blend it, it's not going to come out the same. Plus, when it dries slowly in the food dehydrator, it also preserves a lot of its beautiful color. Next, let's review all of the ingredients that we need. You're going to need a lot of coarse salt. There's so many different types of coarse salt. It doesn't really matter which kind. I'm using coarse kosher sea salt. You need a really good blender. I'm using a Ninja blender. This is like the smoothie cup here. I think this works great for making the salts. Or you can use a food processor. Now for the Mojo citrus inspired flavors. First, you're going to need some oregano. I am growing Cuban oregano. This is typically what we use when we make our Mojo citrus marinades or even sofrito, which I have a different recipe video all about how to make sofrito if you want to learn about that. Cuban oregano is like regular oregano on steroids. Look at how big these leaves are. They are not botanically classified in the same family. They are completely different types of plants, but this smells and tastes just like oregano, just even stronger. So if you really like oregano, I encourage you to try growing the Cuban oregano. This stuff is awesome. And I do have plants sometimes on my website if you would like to grow some in your own garden. If you don't have Cuban oregano, it's okay. Use regular oregano. Just make sure it's fresh. We're also going to need some fresh garlic cloves. I used all of the cloves from one entire bulb. For the citrus flavor, you're going to need a combination of different types of citrus. I've got limes, lemons, and oranges. You could just do one or the other, however you like. And lastly, we need some cilantro. If you don't like cilantro or it gives you that soapy flavor when you eat it, you can totally skip it. There is a specific ratio that I like to use of fresh ingredients to salt when making my herb salts. I like to add 2 cups of a combination of whatever your fresh ingredients are with 1 1/4 cup of the coarse salt. And like I mentioned earlier, herb salts make for really cute gifts. I got these 4-ounce glass jars from Amazon. These are perfect if you want to make a little herb salt set to give as a gift. And I will link all of these ingredients, quantities, and supplies in the description below. You can find the recipe for this Mojo citrus herb salt along with the other types of herb salts that I make on my website, or you can get a free printable PDF recipe card by following the link in the description below. All right, so let's get started in making this Mojo citrus herb salt. The first thing I like to do is just add the salt into my blender. We need 1 1/4 cup. All right, so our salt is in there. And like I said, I like a combination of 2 cups of the fresh ingredients with the salt. So I just eyeball this. I'm gonna do 1 cup worth of the rind off from our citrus. So I do have to peel the rind off from this. And then 1 more cup of a combination of the oregano, cilantro, and garlic. I'm gonna pull the leaves off from the oregano. You definitely don't wanna get any of the stems in there. And just start loading your 1 cup measuring cup. This doesn't have to be perfect, just eyeball it. And then I'm gonna put my garlic. Let me see where I'm at now. If this is 1 cup worth, compact everything down and make sure you get 1 cup full. Could use a little bit more herbs. All right, that should be good. Let's load it in the blender. When you peel the rind off your citrus, you're gonna want to avoid getting the white pithy part because that can impart a lot of bitterness to the flavor here. You could zest the rinds if that's what you prefer, but to me, it's a little bit easier just cutting off and slicing off the rind. There you go, I got the lime all in one piece. I'm gonna start off with 1 of each, 1 lime, 1 lemon, and 1 orange. There's the lemon, and lastly, the rind of an orange. I would say if you could only choose one type of citrus to use for this, go with the oranges. All right, let's see if this is about 1 cup. I still have space for a little bit more. I think I'll peel 1 more orange. All right, let's put our citrus peels into the blender. I'm gonna put the blade on. I don't have a food processor, so that's why I'm just using a blender. And this works just fine. The only thing is I do have to keep taking it off when it's blending to kind of shake it up to make sure that it really just blends everything up well. All right, so it's all blended up. I did have to add a little bit more salt in this because what you're looking for is a consistency that's similar to like wet beach sand. And this was a little bit too wet. So if it's too wet, just go ahead, add a little bit more salt in it. If it's too dry, then add some of your fresh ingredients. But this is about perfect. So we're gonna spread it out on one of the trays for the food dehydrator that is covered with a piece of parchment paper. And just spread it into one thin layer. Then just slide it into the dehydrator. This is gonna dry for at minimum 3 hours. At that point, we're gonna check to see if it's dry enough. It might need additional time. All right, so it took a little bit longer than 3 hours for this to get completely dry. It took more like 5 hours. I did put it in a really thick layer though, so if you thin it out, it will dry much faster. But anyways, now it's ready for final processing. We do have to run it through the blender again just to get it nice and smooth. So I like to very carefully pick up this parchment paper right here and kind of funnel all of this into a bigger bowl. All right, now we can throw this parchment paper away. Now we have to put it back through the blender. I have to keep blending it a little bit, then taking it off, shaking it up, and then blend some more until it's nice and smooth. All right, it's nice and smooth, and I can't even begin to tell you how good this smells. When I got these little 4-ounce glass containers from Amazon, it also came with a little funnel, so that's real handy. That way you can funnel in your ingredients in here. Just to make it a little easier, I like to get some sort of like a flexible type of container, and I'll pour all of my salt in that, so that way I can squeeze it and then push it through the funnel. So let's start filling our containers. This little package of containers also came with some labels, so I just labeled mine right away. Now that we're done making the Mojo citrus salt, let's talk about storage. If stored in airtight jars like these ones or containers, it should last for about a year if kept in a cool, dry, dark place. I like to label mine with the date and flavor so I know what I've got at a glance. These herb salts are so versatile. Sprinkle them on roasted veggies, mix them into salad dressings, or even use them as a finishing touch on grilled meats. The possibilities are endless, and they're a great way to add a burst of flavor to your dishes. One of my favorite things to do with this Mojo citrus herb salt is to season some pork chops and grill it. It gives such a wonderful flavor. I hope you enjoyed learning how to make my recipe for Mojo citrus herb salts. If you have any ideas for herb salt flavor combinations, please let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe so you don't miss any of my gardening and recipe videos. Happy cooking, and I'll see you in the next video.